Good evening and welcome to the June 6th, 2022 meeting of the Select Board. My name is Erin Underhill and I am Chair, and with me I have Craig Schultz, who is Vice Chair, and Ellen Rosenfeld, who is our Clerk. We also have Karen Beret DeMarzo, the Operations Manager, and Mike Kaczynski, the Town Administrator. We have a few fun things on the agenda to start with. The first one I'm going to add to announcements is we're going to talk about Buddy Shropshire. Buddy is one of the oldest Millis residents. He is turning 95 years old tomorrow. He has lived in Millis his whole life, and from what I hear and the bit I've seen, he knows everything about Millis. He has served in the Coast Guard in World War II and is a member of the American Legion. We have a cane. There is a cane that exists from it's called the Boston Post cane. In 1909, the now defunct Boston Post newspaper distributed canes to 700 New England towns. The canes were made of ebony imported from Africa and crowned in 14-karat gold, and they were originally presented to the oldest living male. As of 1930, women were added to the list of recipients. Back then, life expectancy for men was 49.7 years, and women were 50.9 years. So we're going to honor Buddy as one of the oldest Millis residents with this lovely presentation of a cane. And Ms. Rosenfeld will read a proclamation from the Select Board.
Should we have Buddy come up to one of the...
Sure.
Come here.
Yeah, come up there.
Come sit right here, so we can hear you.
Give him his cane. He doesn't have his other cane. There you go. See how that fits.
Am I supposed to say something?
In a
Not
minute.
yet.
You'll interrupt me 6 times. So, Buddy Shropshire, I've known practically my whole life. He and my mother were in the same class. Whenever he needs $1, he calls me. I try to satisfy his needs. And just a terrific guy, knows everything about everything. And we have a proclamation honoring this gift. Whereas Edward Buddy Shropshire is a lifelong resident of Millis, and whereas Buddy will reach 95 years of age on June 7th, 2022, tomorrow, whereas Buddy has honorably served his country and is a veteran of World War II, and whereas Buddy has shared his extensive historical knowledge of the town of Millis with his fellow citizens. Now, therefore, we, the Select Board, to present the Boston Post cane to Buddy to honor him as one of the oldest living citizens of the town of Millis, and do hereby proudly declare Tuesday, June 7th, 2022 as Edward Buddy Shropshire Day in the town of Millis, given the 6th day of June 2022. Congratulations, Buddy. You deserve it.
Can you say something?
I do. Move the mic up.
Oh, you
Somebody help him.
Yeah, he can sit.
Thank
There
you.
you go.
Thank you for that wonderful speech. I was born a few hours from now in, I like to think that I was a Millis Townie. However, we lived on the old rice farm, which is Verderber's property that Millis bought, and I was rushed to the hospital in Woonsocket, and I was born there about 4 hours from now, 95 years ago. And I've been in Millis ever since, except for my time in World War II, and I have enjoyed every minute of it. Had a heck of a time growing up in Millis, and I shouldn't live this long, but I have, and I appreciate very much what you've said here today. I didn't expect it, but thank you very much, all of you.
Well, thank you, Buddy.
Thank you.
Somebody presented to him?
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, you guys need to stand with him, I think.
Oh, we should probably show too.
You need this too. Yes.
Here's the proclamation,
Oh my, isn't that nice?
and this is
The cane.
the cane. It's an original.
It is the original.
Finally found
So we found it, yeah, thanks to you. Interestingly enough, through researching, most of those 730, how many towns were there?
700.
700 towns, more than half have lost, or the cane was stolen because the top is sterling. A lot of towns have made duplicates, but this is an original. Millis has not given it out, I think, at least 30 years for whatever
It says on
reason.
the top, read what
It
it
says on the top, the Boston Post, oldest citizen, to the oldest citizen of Millis, Mass. That's what it reads on the top.
Yeah, thank you.
And you
Thank
knew about it.
Thank you
So
very much. Yeah,
you knew where it was.
yes, I did.
So congratulations,
And thank
buddy.
you. Thank you
You're
very
very
much.
welcome.
Let's take
Yeah, I
a
say, well, the
picture
three of you
them.
stand so you can get a photo?
What, I should stand up. Should I stand
Well,
up?
you should, stand up.
And for those, I was gonna say, for those at home that don't know, if you look up Buddy Shropshire if you Google him, there is a great talk that you did. Buddy, how long ago did you do the talk? Was it I think it said you were 80 when you did a talk, and you talked all about the
Millis High
history of
School?
Millis.
I've given several.
And it was great. There's a great video, and he tells all kinds of stories, including the fact that he saw the Hindenburg fly over Millis. Is that true?
Yes, I did.
Which I think is fascinating.
My fun part of giving my speech at the Millis High School, when I said that I had played football for Millis High School, and we played against our favorite foe, the town of Medway, where we lost 7-6. However, I got back at them 7 years later when I married one of their cheerleaders.
Yeah.
And I got a
Fantastic.
rousing ovation as from that.
Perfect.
Perfect, all right.
All right.
Thank you.
Big smiles.
Hold on, take a smile here, they're shooting smiles.
All right, one more over here. We're gonna put you on the town Facebook page here. Harry, smile. Well, congratulations and happy birthday.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
You deserve it.
I don't know about that.
Well, somebody does.
All right, awesome. Moving on for announcements. June is Pride Month, and the Millis Public Library is having some events in honor of Pride Month. They're having what we're calling Pride Rocks. You decorate rocks in the Pride theme in honor of LGBTQ plus Pride Month. That's going to be Saturday, June 11th at 1:30. All ages are welcome. I'm very excited about this. I got rainbow lollipops. There's also going to be Elijah T. Grasshopper's Rainbow Dance Party. And this is geared towards kids ages 2 to 8. That's also Saturday, June 11th, and that's at 11 a.m. at the Millis Public Library. So a few fun things coming up. So happy Pride, everybody. The next thing on our list is another senior center focus group. That will take place tomorrow, Tuesday, June 7th. It's going to be at the Millis Housing Authority at 310 Exchange Street. And due to the recent surge in COVID cases, it's being strongly recommended that attendees wear a mask at the focus group meetings. So this is a chance for you to come and see what the different plans are, join in, ask questions, and give feedback. The next thing we have is there's going to be a PFAS 101 informational seminar, and this is presented by the Millis Board of Health. It will be at the Millis Public Library on June 21st at 7 p.m. And they will be presenting the information about PFAS, hopefully answering a lot of questions that folks may have. So that should be a good event as well. Anything that anybody has to add for announcements? Okay. So moving on to our scheduled appointments and hearings. The first thing we have are the acceptance of 2 grant awards. We have a grant for the Community Compact Fiber Grant and a skid steer grant. So if I could please have Mr. Donovan come up. Hi.
Hello. So we were just awarded the fiber grant, which is going to connect all the town buildings, including the library, back into one central location, reducing cost and overhead for things like lighting and HVAC controls. The main thing this also does is connects our SCADA system and takes it off of the internet, making it, which is our water and sewer system, and making it much more cyber secure, which is a big factor for this grant.
Excellent. And I don't see it here offhand. Do you recall the exact amount of the grant?
It was 133,475, I believe.
Excellent.
Pretty good.
That's pretty accurate. All right, awesome. So we would make a motion to accept the grant?
Yes, you can certainly
Okay.
take a motion to accept the grant on behalf of the town, and I know that Jim's looking forward to getting going on the
Yes,
project.
Definitely.
Thank you for all your work.
I'll
Thank
make a
you.
motion to accept the fiber grant as awarded.
A second?
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to accept the Community Compact Fiber Grant. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Oh, I'm an aye, by the way. The motion carries unanimously. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
And the next up is the skid steer grant with Mr. McKay.
Thank you. So I believe during the budget process, I had mentioned that we had submitted a grant to the Mass DOT for a skid steer in the amount of $50,000. We thought, we were hoping that we were going to get this before town meeting, but we'll take it now, no matter what. So we did receive the grant in the amount of $49,999. The skid steer that we're going to purchase that was approved at town meeting, which we're far ahead of everybody else because we don't have to wait till town meeting still has to approve this. The town has to pay for it, and then we get reimbursed. It's one of those type of state grants. So they will reimburse us $49,999 in the cost of the skid steer is $54,720.58. So,
That's fantastic.
yes, yes.
Good.
And then I believe the town administrator will report that those funds will just be put back, whatever's left over in the November town meeting.
Right, so we'll only need the difference from the 49,999 to the 54. The remainder of those funds will still be available in that article and can be transferred for other capital projects at the fall town meeting.
Fantastic. Thank you very much
Good.
for your work on
Yep.
that.
Great.
Could we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to accept the grant for $49,999 for the skid steer from the Shared Streets and Space Program.
A second?
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to accept the $49,999 skid steer grant. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Thanks.
much.
Okay, great.
And Madam Chair, I just want to take a moment to thank both Mr. McKay and Mr. Donovan for all their work and their proactive approach on grants. I think we've become very aggressive on grants and want to thank them and all the department heads that are always looking out for money to assist the town with these much-needed projects.
I was definitely very excited to see these, so thank you. Okay, so the next thing we have on the agenda, and we're right on time, is the fiscal year 21 financial audit statements presentations. And we have Mr. McIntyre on Zoom to present to us tonight.
There we go.
Good evening, Scott McIntyre here. I'm one of the partners at Melanson, and I oversee the audit here in the town of Millis, and I thank you very much for the invitation to come in tonight to review our audit of your financial statements. Before I begin, maybe just a quick question possibly to Karen. If it's possible to share a screen in a few minutes, that would be helpful. If not, I can certainly done enough of these over the past couple of years to be able to communicate what needs to be communicated without sharing the screen. So
Yes.
great, thank you. I'll share mine in just a couple of minutes. Thank you, Karen. Before I share my screen and start walking through the the document or the key parts of the document. I think the most important communication we can make to the town tonight is to let you know that our audit of your financial statements went very well. In the most basic terms that I can think of, as far as what that really means, is when we came in to audit your books and records, we found them to be in good working order. Cash accounts were reconciled on a regular and timely basis. Receivable accounts, the same, reconciled on a regular and timely basis. All other key balance sheet accounts, long-term debt, and the like, were reconciled on a regular basis. And as a result of that, we did not need to propose any significant audit entries as a result of the auditing procedures that we performed. It was really what we call a clean audit. That's one of the really three major required communications that we need to make to the board tonight. When I say required, they are required by generally accepted auditing standards. There are really two more. One deals with the fact that there were no disagreements between the town and our firm on how to apply generally accepted accounting principles. And the third set of required communications deals with accounting estimates in your financial statements. And there are several. There are things like your net pension liability and the related deferred accounts, your net OPEB liability and the related deferred accounts, the estimated useful life of your assets, therefore the estimated depreciation expense of those assets. Those are probably four of the most significant estimates in your financial statements, and certainly your estimated useful lives are reasonable and in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles. And the two large liabilities, which we'll spend just a minute or two talking about, your net pension liability and your net OPEB liability, those are actuarially determined by an outside actuary, and they follow, their own set of standards in coming up with those assumptions and therefore the estimates. So, with that said, Karen, if it's possible to share my screen, I will start doing so. And you should have up in front of you the independent auditor's report. And really, this is the highlight of really the communication here this evening. I'm not going to walk through it, but it basically tells you, it's, as I indicated earlier, it's a clean or an unmodified opinion. It tells the reader that based on the standards that we followed, your financial statements are totally in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles for governmental entities. Not any different than you've had in the past, but still it's the highlight of the report when you can look at your independent auditor's report and know that you received a clean or an unmodified opinion on your basic financial statements. With that, I'm going to go all the way over to page 14, and I'm going to scroll down to the middle part of the page. This is the liability and equity section of your statement of net position. There are essentially both a long-term perspective financial statement in here and a short-term. We'll talk more about the short-term or the general fund, if you will, in a minute. I skipped over the asset side of the equation. It includes all of the town assets, including your capital assets. But in our opinion, no communication about a local government set of financial statements would be complete without talking about two significant liabilities, and that being your net pension liability and your net OPEB liability. First, I'll speak a little bit about the net pension liability. And the town is a member of the Norfolk County Retirement System, and essentially this number here of $12.1 million represents your proportional share of the retirement system's collective liability. It's based on your percentage, based on contributions into the plan, and therefore the total plan liability is then allocated to the members. That liability is not significantly changed over the prior year. And one of the key assumptions, I just want to bring this to everybody's attention, it's not problematic in our opinion, but I do want to bring it to your attention, and that is the discount rate or the expected future earnings of the plan are presently 7 3/4%. I do know that PERAC is encouraging, pardon me, PERAC is the state oversight agency, if anyone's not aware. They're really encouraging governments to use a significantly lower discount rate. I think they're looking at between 6.75% and 7%. But the county system continues to use 7.75%. Again, it seems a little bit high, but if you look at the historical earnings of the plan, they have exceeded over a 30 to 40 year period. They have exceeded the current estimated discount rate of 7.75%. So all I really wanted to say on the pension liability, PERAC is looking at the discount rate and thinking it's a little high, but the plan's investment earnings are doing very well and exceeding that 7.75%. Right below that is your net OPEB liability. OPEB is an acronym for Other Post-Employment Benefits, and by other, they mean benefits other than pension, and more specifically, it deals with retiree health care. Now, this liability in your governmental activities of just over $52 million, that's increased by about $16 million over the prior year. And there are several reasons for that are outlined in the footnotes. But most specifically, the discount rate, the estimated future earnings of the plan investments. A year ago it was 3%. It's dropped down to 2.5%. That had probably about a $4 to $5 million increase in the liability. And also the experience of the plan that had some losses in it, as well as the actuary updated the mortality tables, which also increased the liability by about $5 million. So there's a couple of assumption changes in there that had a significant increase in the liability. Now, I think that the town is certainly well aware that you do have a OPEB trust fund. You're not contributing a tremendous amount of money to it, but as of year end, there was about almost a $250,000 in there. Not a tremendous amount in the fund, but it's nice to see a fund there nonetheless. But of course, if there were additional funds there, you may be entitled to use a higher discount rate than the 2.5 that's presently being used, which would help lower that liability. That's all I really wanted to speak about in terms of the pension and OPEB liability. I can certainly try to answer any questions that may exist on that when we conclude here. That takes us over to page 17. And the focus here is going to be on your general fund, which is, of course, the main operating fund. And really, more specifically, the focus comes into the fund balance amount. Your assets exceeded your liabilities as of June 30, 2021 by 5.8, almost $5.9 million. And you can see right above that where I have that number highlighted, there are four components to that. There's the unassigned at almost 4.3, assigned, committed, and restricted. I can speak about those other three if there are specific questions on them. Really, the focus tonight, and probably the first place that most readers turn to in your financial statements, is to look at that unassigned fund balance number of $4.2 million. Quick point of references, last year it was about $2.9 million, so there's almost a $1.3 million increase in that key account balance. We'll look at the why behind that increase in just a moment. And the second point of reference would be to point out that 4.2, almost 4.3 million, represents approximately 11% of your budgeted expenditures in fiscal year 21. And credit rating agencies certainly like to see that, hovering around 10%. So you've crossed that threshold with the results of fiscal year 21, where your unassigned fund balance represents is greater than 10% of your annual recurring expenditures. So just one more page I wanted to turn to in your audited financial statements. It's going to be page 67, page 70 of a PDF. And this is your budget versus actual comparative schedule. And the focus here is almost always in the last column of numbers, where you can see the variance between the actual results of operations and the final budget. The number I have highlighted indicates that revenues came in greater than anticipated by approximately $1.6 million. Much of that is coming from excise taxes and charges for services. And on the expenditure side, you see a negative here, but that's only because of the snow and ice deficit that occurred in fiscal year 2021. And so collectively, the excess revenues and the net expenditure turnbacks equaled about $1.7 million. And that $1.7 million is the driving force behind, on the last page we were looking at, we showed about a $1.3 million increase in your fund balance. It doesn't work out perfectly here, and it rarely ever would. But if you look at this $1.6 million, and if you subtract about $400,000 in free cash that the town voted to use for fiscal year '22, the subsequent fiscal year to the period we're discussing. If you subtract that roughly $400,000 from this 1.6, you're around 1.2, which again is very close to and the driving force behind the significant increase in your unassigned fund balance number. Really, it's based on budgeted activity, the variances, budget versus actual, less a small amount of your free cash that was used for the subsequent fiscal period. Nets you the overall change in the unassigned fund balance number. That's a very quick walkthrough of the financial statements. I'm going to stop sharing my screen just for a moment. You know, we did issue a management letter with a couple of very minor comments in there, looking to suggest that the town update many of its policies and procedures. It seems like it's been many years since that's been done, and we've listed a few bullet items in our management letter. I'm not going to share the screen for that unless we think it's necessary. But it's probably a good time to put together a to-do list of financial policies that need to be updated and refreshed. And then also we made a couple of other recommendations about looking to add to the completeness of the general ledger. You have accounting records for like your ambulance receivables. You have those as part of your accounting records. They probably need to be posted into the ledger. We don't consider that a significant adjustment because you have the underlying records. We're just suggesting that you get those recorded into your general ledger to add to its completeness. So, with that, again, a very, very quick walkthrough of our audit of your financial statements. I will do my best to answer any questions that the board may have.
Thank you very much. Any questions?
I just have a question on OPEB. Not directly ours, but how many towns are funding that fully? I mean, we're at $250,000, you said, on $52 million liability. How many towns are closer to a real, contribution to that?
Could you just repeat the last part of that question?
I think you said we're $250,000 funded on a $52 million liability. How many towns are over half? Yeah, let's come up with a.
It's a handful. I don't have that number handy.
But a small minority.
I work with approximately 100 governments, or my firm does, in the Commonwealth, and I can sit here tonight and say that I'm aware of probably 10 that are greater than 50%, funded. Those are the communities. Many of them are right along the 128 border. Yeah. Those are the communities that are doing significant annual contributions to the trust fund above and beyond pay-as-you-go.
Yeah.
So my guess would be about 10.
Yeah, and we're using the pay-as-you-go approach, and that fits within our financial plan fine based on your audit. We're not having any problems.
Yeah, it's presently rating agencies are not expressing a tremendous amount of concern over the net OPEB liabilities, but in OPEB reporting has been around since this series of OPEB reporting has been around since about 2017. Only recently have we seen an uptake in some of the opinions from the rating agencies that they're just now starting to pay a little bit more attention to the pension and OPEB and really what are the plans to address the ongoing liabilities. It's great that you have a trust with roughly $250,000 in it. I think, if I may say so, I think your position would be enhanced with even a small annual contribution into the trust. I think that would be viewed more favorably by rating agencies. But I'm not on that side of the table, so I understand, running a business, understand running a town, and there are limitations at times. So.
And what is our bond rating right now? It's quite high, I believe. Is that correct?
I would have to look it up, but I'm going to guess Mike could tell me off the top of his head.
Is it an A3 or a?
Carol, can you confirm that? I thought it was. Yeah.
AAA, yeah.
At AA3, it's not the highest.
Yeah, AA3.
It's close. Okay.
Close. It's very good.
Yeah, it's excellent. Yeah. Yeah.
Agreed.
It's difficult for a town of this size to get a full AAA.
Right.
Any other questions? Craig, anything?
I'm good, thank you.
You're good? Okay. Anything from you guys?
Nope, I just want to thank the finance director and her team for the good work that maintains our books and keeps us in good shape. So I think they do some great work, and I think that that has really helped us with our audit report and our management letter. So, and we will be taking a look at our finance policies over the next year to really just spruce up and update some of those. But again, I want to thank the firm and thank Carol and her staff for all their hard work.
Excellent. Yes, thank you very much, and thank you,
Thanks.
Carol.
Thank you, Scott.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay. So-
Well, there's no reason you can't, unless you want to wait. We don't have to wait on the next one.
We just, Jim.
I think Jim was expecting 7:45, so
Yeah,
this may be why.
I'll text him.
This might be something that people would want to tune
Okay.
in for, though,
Yeah.
I would
Okay.
assume.
Sure.
So let's skip to the, do you want to, are you guys okay with doing the sewer thing? Okay. All right. So I actually threw together this draft sewer policy. I shamelessly stole from the town of Bourne because they had some good stuff, but they had a 43-page sewer policy. Whether we should have something so extensive in general, that's a question, but for our purposes right now, for the work we need to do, I did pull this together. Now, we currently have a moratorium on any new sewer hookup requests that will end at the end of July. So we need to put something in place, at least prior to that. But once we have some kind of a policy that is complete and we agree upon, we could move to lift the moratorium early, if that works. This doesn't have any information about fees or any specifics in those cases. I know Craig is really a good numbers guy, so I was kind of hoping that once he looks at it, he'd have some suggestions if we wanted to like put numbers in here on the fees and such. I figured one of the things I really wanted us to talk about is the reasons where there could be a hookup. Where here it says that there might be certain projects that could be considered. And my biggest concern was making sure that if we had sewer capacity available, that those would go to projects that would greatly benefit the town. So something that had a high percent of affordable units, for instance. Otherwise, with the current capacity that we're at, and granted that will change once some of the big developments come online and such, but I don't think it sounds good right now to be approving any new connections if there's no capacity on paper here. So that's why I did put something in about the new ones would have to be a package plant or septic, or if there's capacity, this criteria. So again, this is just a piece of it. I figured at least we can start a conversation, and then you guys can pull in whatever you guys have.
Yeah, after we finished the last town meeting, way back, I wrote up some ideas and I edited them a little bit today. I'll distribute them too. A lot of it's along the same lines, but I was going for, in my thought, I was privileged being chair, you just send them out ahead of time. So, but I was thinking more, keep the moratorium in place until we have a fully developed plan, and hopefully it can be done by, it was July 1st or
July 31st.
31st, and I think we
Right.
can probably hit that. I
Yep.
didn't want to go with something and then amend it. I think
Oh,
we
yeah,
get
not
one
a-
bite at the
yeah.
apple, and we try to get it as close as we
Did you
can.
send that to
I
him?
did not, I'm handing it out now.
Oh,
I'm not allowed to distribute ahead of the meeting.
thank you.
So I will, Mike
I'll
has it, I
remember
think,
that.
but, yeah.
That's
Yeah.
why this is difficult to do,
Yeah.
you know, that's,
So I'll just walk through my, my suggestions here, and I think they tie in a lot with what you have here, and I think that we're right around the same
well, this
ideas.
is what I was hoping for.
Yeah, okay, okay. I thought that there were, how many, I think there were, 5 areas. The first one was we have to resolve the funding issue that came up, you know, with the community paradigm addressed issue. And I think we can get that done in the 2 years, possibly even 1 year, but I think
Sorry,
it's
is there one more?
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry.
Sorry, that's all right.
Yeah.
I'm gonna- That way, I feel like I'm sitting on top of you.
Okay.
Thank you.
I didn't even print them, I had that done. It's home today. So I thought we could resolve the community paradigm issues within 2 years at the most, hopefully in 1 year, so next budget cycle, but certainly by the 2024 budget cycle, have it completely resolved, those funding issues identified. On the sewer side, which is where this related more, was, let's see, for those who paid a betterment, I broke it into 2 categories. For those who paid a betterment to have a permit to connect, I think we need to charge some type of reserve capacity fee. That's a fee that I set up, that I was thinking of setting up, that would reimburse the current sewer people, well, not reimburse, but fund, right now the current sewer people are paying for people that are not on the sewer, they're paying for their capacity. So our bills, we're paying for about $43,000 of unused capacity right now that's reserved for other people. If you're on the sewer, you're paying that. So it's a nominal charge. I haven't done the math because I need my denominator. I need to know how many people aren't on the sewer, but it's probably $50 to $100 a year, would be my guess, would probably take care of that difference. So if you have the right to connect and we're reserving space for you, you pay a reserve capacity fee. Once you connect to the sewer, obviously, the reserve capacity fee goes away because now you're paying your actual fee. If you haven't paid a betterment, but you're on a sewer line, like the Orchard Street people that Glen Ellen put on this, made available the sewer, I thought we'd give it a 12-month or an 18-month connection period, after which they lose their right to connect. If they don't connect in that first established period, they don't, and this is for anybody who didn't pay a betterment, not just them, but they're the largest group of 300 homes. After that period, they don't have the right to connect without going to a hearing, just like every other person who wants to connect to the sewer. They haven't paid anything for that sewer, they have no financial right to it. They would not have to pay a betterment because they don't have the right to connect. That would reduce our reserve capacity immediately, or as soon as the 12 to 18-month period ran out, it would reduce our capacity. I really would like a legal opinion on item C, but a couple towns I looked at had a split connection fee, $4,000 for new construction and $1,000 for an existing home. So if a home's on a sewer line already, they've paid their betterment, they paid their reserve capacity fee, it's $1,000 to connect. If it's new construction coming in, it's $4,000 to connect. So we're existing homeowners, we're lightening the burden to connect for them. Any
When you
questions?
say
Yeah.
existing, do you mean the ones that paid the betterment?
Yes, yeah, the people that have paid the betterment.
Yep.
And are paying the reserve capacity charge. Then come up with a prioritization for connection. I think that's what Aaron was getting at right here quite heavily. Obviously, those who have paid a betterment are allowed to connect at any time. There's no, they're number one in the priority. Legally, they have the right to connect. No, I don't even know if we need to have a hearing for them or anything. I think they're just allowed to. For the others, and this is not in any particular order, okay? The first thing we have to do is determine what our capacity really is.
Yes.
And if our capacity is below 100%, then we allow people to connect. If we're over 100%, obviously we can't. And I'm not going to even venture into a formula to figure that out, but we've got until July 31st. For those who have not paid a betterment and their septic system has failed and they're on a sewer line, like the Orchard Street people, for example, they'd be a high priority connection for me because they're on a sewer line already and they have a failed septic system, which isn't good. Another priority for me would be affordable housing in the town center area. And then the last one, require package treatment plants whenever feasible, as Erin has in her proposal. And I was thinking, if there's a way to have a developer build a package treatment plant on land that the town owns even, to lessen the burden on the existing sewer, therefore granting more capacity for them to connect. So getting creative with that somehow. I'm not sure exactly what that looks like yet, but that's really the sewer portion of it. The rest of it was stormwater and water with the other thoughts. But that was really
Okay.
the sewer portion of it. And I was just trying, again, I came out of town meeting with some ideas, or going into it with some ideas, but more ideas after I came out. So that's really the sewer portion. And I think that if we could integrate that into the draft document that Erin's got, I think we have a document we can put in place by July 31st. And be ready to go.
One thing I'll say, just to note it,
Yeah.
is once we get this together,
Yeah.
I think we should definitely make sure that the public is notified and given an opportunity to ask questions or make comments.
Yeah.
Because that would be necessary.
Yeah, and there's nothing in this that's nearly as burdensome as the last one. And
Right.
in fact, for the existing sewer users, it could conceivably slightly reduce cost, because we're now taking that $43,000 of reserve capacity that they're funding off their plate. And for those that are on a sewer line and on the fence about connecting, we've reduced the burden to connect. Clues Road and some of those other ones where they've had sewer forever, there's still a lot of houses that haven't connected. The very last page of it, the last piece was, and I mentioned this at town meeting, and I mentioned this leading into town meeting, we do have the ability by charter to appoint a 3-person independent committee. It'd be an appointed committee, not the elected committee. But I really think that that has a lot of potential to give the recommendation ability and the appeals ability and all that to another committee, where we would ratify, much like we do with the town administrator's recommendations, but ratify it, their recommendations. So I'd like to see that as something we tie in at about the same time we introduce this. And I boldly thought we could throw water and stormwater into it also, just my 3 favorite topics.
Being bold.
Yeah, but it would, the stormwater would, and water would put all that into one 3-person committee, appointed, rotating terms, much more formal than the last committee we had. Yeah.
And
So-
Ellen, you had some questions?
Yeah, I think
Or
it's,
thoughts?
I think between the two of these, I think you've covered a lot. There's some tweaks that I have, but I don't need to go over, right?
If it's something you want
Well,
to
you have,
discuss, you can.
well, you say wastewater, for one, just one example, you have all new construction, including commercial and residential. We would include industrial also,
Oh,
right?
yeah, yep.
Okay.
But you have a law degree, don't you?
Yeah, but I'm not, I don't practice anymore.
I understand.
Because I'm so good at it, I don't practice anymore. No, it's a joke.
Ba-dum-bum.
It's a joke. But we talk about preliminary project review. Is that a thing? Is that a definition? I don't know what preliminary project review is. Is that?
I don't know.
We'll have to figure that out.
Well, when the projects go to the planning board is kind of what I
I
was.
think it's usually sent to an engineer with a firm, with the firm that we work with to do a first review.
Okay.
It's really meant to speed up the process with the board, to kind of
Okay.
get ahead of any glitches or potential issues.
Okay. I mean, we can figure that out. We talk about the uncommitted reserve capacity to annually review. I'd like it a little bit more than that. I think annually is too long. A lot happens, but no big deal. That's not a killer. Yeah, I mean, I think it's good, but Craig touched on this. I would like to, unless you would like to, I would like to meet with Jim McKay. I'd like to meet with town council. I'd like to even talk to Charles River. I would love to know what our capacity really is.
I think that is a meeting worth having. Since 2 of us want that, that means it kind of has to be public.
Okay,
Yeah, no, I would want to.
I would love that.
Yeah.
So we can figure that out.
Yeah, we can work out the
Because
logistics of
we
that.
got to
Yeah.
start from real.
Yeah.
Well, this, I mean, I'm sure you followed it. This has gone around
I
and
know.
around and
I know.
around, and was a pretty hot topic. Rightly so, rightly so, I get it. And I think the thoughts that we're at least putting forth now are more reasonable.
Mhm.
The fact remains, though, that even if we're under our true
I agree.
capacity.
We're gonna get there someday,
Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
and now's
So
the
then-
time.
Right.
I agree, even
Yeah.
if we're
So if the,
way low, I agree.
yeah, if the
The
300,
package
yeah.
treatment, I mean, all of that is future,
That's what
future.
Norfolk has to do, because they don't have
I know.
these options, so.
Yeah, and if the 300 homes that went in, became eligible because the Glen Ellen project removed, that helps our
It
reserve
helps.
capacity a great deal. So there's ways we can get to a real number that we can all feel comfortable with and agree on.
Yep.
So if we could work on getting a meeting like that set up, and then if you guys don't mind, I don't mind taking a stab at kind of massaging these together, and then we'll have that meeting, we'll see where we sit. and-
Yep.
Thanks, yeah, that's great. I just trying to get ideas on paper, but yeah,
Okay,
hate writing them in final form.
all right. Anything from you guys?
Do you want to add this, do you want to put it together, Erin, and at the next meeting, you can take another look at it before we have that CRPCD meeting, or do you want to?
I don't think we
hold
need to
off?
do it before
No?
the
Okay.
meeting. I'll get it done as soon as possible, though, so at least it's done, but,
Totally fine.
yeah, because we might want to change stuff after that
That's what
meeting.
I'm thinking.
Right,
Mhm.
okay. Okay, great. Well, that was good. Oh,
Sure, especially you. You can ask any question you want.
To get-
My question is this, there's no question, well, I'll speak loudly.
There you go.
There's no question
Yeah,
that we
thanks, Scott.
will exceed our capacity with the sewer system. Could you explain to me what these developments can do if we cannot connect onto the Medway system? You said there's a
Package treatment
Package
plan.
treatment.
a potable treatment plant, is that the way it is?
Yeah, they call it a package treatment plant. So essentially, and this might be a rudimentary explanation, so I'm doing my best here. But if there's an area of land that percolates or tests appropriately, then a septic type treatment plant can be put in that place. Nothing can be built on top of it. So it would end up being more of so envision like an open space area
I
next to a
understand that.
development.
I understand it. But don't forget, you have 3 developments that are in process now, and you've got at least 3 more to come, Herman Shoe, GIF, and Tresca Brothers. It's going to take a lot of,
The ones that are in progress now
Yeah,
have
they're-
already been factored in.
They're in our base.
So those are
Yeah.
already
Yes.
all set. So it'd be more anything new that comes up, that would be where this stuff comes in.
the
Any-
Emerson land is all on that too, as is Glen Ellen?
Yep,
Yeah.
Okay.
yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, we run one of them, we run a package treatment plant at my YMCA. The town of Hanover wouldn't let the YMCA tie in to the public sewer because of 2,000 visitors showering each day and everything else. So at work, I even have a sewer treatment plant. So it's a lovely place to be. Can't get away from it.
Yeah. Scott?
Thank you, Scott Fusey, 411 Union. Just to touch on what Craig said about the packaging plant, I think going forward in the future, gas developments, we have the Bedurba property, we have a lot of town-owned land that could be worked out with a developer. I think the other thing, like Ms. Rosenfeld said, too, talking to Charles River Pollution Control, seeing what our capacity is. Hopefully, we're addressing it. So a lot of communities are over, so I think doing something now rather than waiting later is good, so thank you.
Thank you. All right. A few minutes late, sorry, Mr. McKay. But now we have the fiscal year '23
Yes.
road paving proposal presentation and approval.
Thank you. So this is a preliminary proposal. By your next meeting, we'll have the actual figures. I did send out to you, the contract came in, and DNR's worked for us in the past. They've done, but we'll have all that paperwork ready for you for approval at your next meeting, because you're going to have to vote all that amount in. So what this spreadsheet is that I sent you, I know it doesn't mean anything to you, but it means everything to me. The base, so Chapter 90 funding, we had $440,755 left over. Town meeting appropriated $160,000, so that left us with a total of $675,000, approximately here and there. And that's all Chapter 90 funding. We can't expend, parts of that we can expend because it was left over from last year, but none of that can be done till July 1st. Those funds. The Winter Recovery Assistant Program, we just received that notification, and that's in the amount of $169,556. It's a one-time thing. It's great. And I'm still working with Carol and Mike to figure out exactly what we can use this for. I don't know if I can add this to what was put out to bid or what sections were put out to bid. It may just be to fix potholes. It just may be to fix trenches. So we are finding that out, but we'll have all that ready before your next meeting. You can see the bids came in. I was happy. I mean, when the bids went out, some people were getting bids back at $115, $120, up to $130 a ton for asphalt back in January. Our bid came in, and it's $90 a ton. It's about $18 more a ton than last year, but it's better than, it's not over the $100 mark. So we did, this is what, from a brief discussion that we had earlier in the process of what needed to be done. We all know that Route 109 needs to be paved, many more sections than what we have here, but we're going to propose that we do from Hammond Lane to approximately right after the dog barn. That's what that 1363, so it's right after the dog barn. The other little sections up to the town line, we can take care of with our skid steer and the milling and paving of that, to those blowouts up in that section. So that'll address that. There was much discussion that I had with Mike about, what roads, and with Bob Weiss. We involved Bob with the grant of the sidewalk thing that he received. And we're not ready for that, to submit anything for sidewalks quite yet with that. I think over the winter we'll be able to work with, and I think that, Mr. Schultz brought up a good point of when I first proposed about doing sidewalks, and two of them was to add a sidewalk on Pleasant Street to connect end to end from Village Street to Main Street. And then the second was to extend the sidewalk on Main Street down to the high school entrance. And I believe that there was much talk about, Spring Street. Spring Street has nothing, the extension, not the part, we've already paved that. I'm not sure we're going to be able to, we can look at it, but I think the biggest part is maybe extending the sidewalk from Village Street. Am I saying it? It's Spring Street, yeah, that side of Spring Street, and come up and connect it to Plain Street next year. And that fulfills the obligations under the grant that we received from the state. It's a walking route for school. I mean, right now, those kids, if they have to walk, the sidewalk only goes to Spring Street, and then it goes down Village, and they have to come up Plain Street. So this would cut off a big section there, and there's not a large development, there's a development of homes where young kids live and stuff like that. We'd hold off on the sidewalk on Pleasant Street, and we would file part of the grant for next year. So we are proposing that we do Pleasant Street, not that it's any worse shape than Plain Street, or one's worse than the other. It's just funding wise. If we do the sidewalks, if we pave Plain Street, we'd have to replace the curbing and all that. Pleasant Street, it's a little different. The sidewalks are set aside, and there's actually no curbing there at all, and we'll be able to add that even after the road is paved. We did that, if you all remember, we did it up on Exchange Street. We paved Exchange Street near Rossi's, and then we added the sidewalks. Susan Kennedy just flipped. I went on vacation when that happened, and she was running around, but Karen knows what I'm talking about.
Our interim
So we did,
administrator.
so it's not like, it'd be great to do both of these projects with doing the sidewalks all at once, but we just don't have the funding to do it, and there's no sense in holding off to it. So alternate one, we're looking at doing Village Street. That's the intersection where we stopped paving, I think it was 3 years ago, to, and to do the intersection on Village where Pleasant veers off and it swings down, and Pleasant Street was paved. So this will almost complete that Pleasant Street from end to end, if paved. And then, and lastly, on alternate 2, we looked at, if you remember, Exchange Street across from Oak Grove. There's 2 different sections where Toll Brothers brought the sewer main down, and they only did one half of the road, and they just and that's all they were contracted to do, was pay from center line to curb. So there's like 4 different little sections. I'm sure if you all drive over it every day, you'll know what I'm talking about. So we're gonna, that's part of this project. And then we did look at Walnut Street. Walnut Street's probably one of the worst of them all in Millis. And so those prices for the base bid, and in that, I don't have the number. There's, for the base bid to do Main Street and Village Street, and also the DPW parking lot is in that base bid of $514,961. We don't know exactly what the cost for the parking lot. The engineering firm, GCG, is working on that, and I should have that again by your next meeting. Chapter 90 is not going to pay for that. The building project still has the funds, plenty of funds to pay for that, and they know that's coming. So we will deduct that from that. And that will just leave probably alternate 1 and 2 that, and I just don't see alternate 3 for the $202,002.25 Walnut Street getting done this year. It's, so that's what we're looking at. And again, if you add all this up, we have approximately almost $770-something thousand. The 19,000 was it 19,820.07? You're going to see tomorrow. We're going to use that money that was left over from last year's town meeting. Starting tomorrow, we're going to crack seal 109. We're going to start at the police station, and we're going to do down to whatever was paved in the last couple of years. Because with the frost heaves and everything that got into the road, I don't want to lose it, and crack sealing is the best way to maintain that. The town administrator signed a contract for that. It was for $9,635, and we'll have to add the police details into that. So we'll use those fundings, and if there is money left over there, then from that we can add that, into the big pool to be spent on these roads once we come back next week or 2 weeks for your approval.
Awesome. Great. So our agenda says presentation and approval. Are we approving anything this evening?
No, just
No,
I might have misspoke.
Put it there in
I
case.
think in case
Just
something
in
needed
case.
to,
In
but
case, okay.
that can
All
be
right.
left to your next meeting.
All right, awesome, thank you,
Thank
Mr.
you,
McKay.
thanks.
Okay. The next item on the agenda is adopting the resolution endorsing the International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance's working definition of anti-Semitism. And I'm going to have Ms. Rosenfeld read the proclamation that we will all sign.
Okay. This is the resolution endorsing the International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance's working definition of anti-Semitism. Whereas the working definition of anti-Semitism reads as follows: anti-Semitism is a certain perception of Jews which may be expressed as hatred toward Jews. Rhetorical and physical manifestations of anti-Semitism are directed toward Jewish or non-Jewish individuals and/or their property, toward Jewish community institutions and religious facilities. Whereas healthy democratic life depends upon inclusive and respectful communities. Whereas actions and ideas that advance hatred and intolerance threaten the health of our democracy. Whereas acts of hatred and intolerance against people of color, Jews, Muslims, Mexican Americans, and many others persist and too often lead to tragic acts of violence and the spread of toxic conspiracy theories. Whereas over the last decade, anti-Semitic ideas emanating from the extreme political right, left, and elsewhere have steadily been moving from the margins to the mainstream of American life. Whereas defeating viral anti-Semitism is essential to securing our democracy and part of the broader struggle to realize the promise of America for all its inhabitants. Whereas fighting anti-Semitism requires a common understanding of the many ways that anti-Semitism appears in our communities. Whereas the International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance, known as IHRA, working definition of anti-Semitism is an important tool in the fight against anti-Semitism and provides guideposts that help recognize and facilitate constructive discussion about whether any statement or action may be anti-Semitic. Whereas the IHRA working definition of anti-Semitism is intended as a teaching tool and resource for communities intent on understanding and constructively addressing anti-Semitism. Whereas respected, influential people in our Commonwealth from the world of politics, business, finance, healthcare, nonprofits, and beyond have signed a letter of support for use of the IHRA working definition of anti-Semitism. Therefore, be it resolved that we, the Select Board of the Town of Millis, believe that the IHRA working definition of anti-Semitism is a vital resource in the struggle against anti-Semitism, and that it will further understand with further understanding, facilitate constructive discourse and enable effective responses to harmful behavior that diminishes our democracy and harms its citizens. Be it further resolved that all departments, boards, and commissions of the Town of Millis are encouraged to use the IHRA working definition of anti-Semitism as a lens through which to view policies and actions in order to address anti-Semitism or to avoid inadvertently engaging in or facilitating anti-Semitism.
Thank you, Alan. I think pending a small edit, perhaps.
Oh, with to will to with?
Will to with,
Yeah. And that with further understanding,
Okay. So we can sign later.
yeah. But I think we need to,
It with further, yeah.
yeah,
Yep.
have a motion.
I'll make a motion that we accept the working definition of anti-Semitism as read.
I second.
It's been moved and seconded to accept the working definition of anti-Semitism. I will pull, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It carries unanimously. Okay, so the next thing we have is the review and approval of a signed license agreement for Anthology and Assisted Living Facility.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm actually going to turn this discussion of this over to Karen. She's been doing most of the legwork on this, so as the board may be aware, the sign issue has gone back a number of years in regards to the project, and we have been working with the Anthology on addressing that and assisting in this process, so I'd ask Karen to address that.
Thank you. So the signed license agreement, as Mike stated, was originally entered into on the 10th day of February 2020. It was between Millis and Barbary Homes. They were the original assisted living project owners. Since then, it has changed hands and is now with an Anthology. Really what this is just approving that the license agreement is now going to be between Anthology and the town of Millis. I had several conversations, as did several other people in town, with the Anthology. The sign is going to be the same as what's specified in the agreement, or very similar. So there's no need to change anything else in the agreement. It's just simply to transfer it over to them. So you're just voting to do that. There was a question of some trees that were on the property that they wanted to have removed. That's completely separate from this license agreement, so we don't need to worry about it. So really, I guess I'm just looking for the board to vote to the approval to switch the license.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to switch the license from, was it Barbary Homes originally?
From Barbary Homes to
Barbary Homes to
Anthology.
Anthology.
Correct.
I had who it was going to. I was just
Thank
trying to
you.
be sure on who it was coming from.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to change the license agreement from Barbary Homes to Anthology. Is there any discussion or questions? Forgot to ask that first. No.
No.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
All right. The next thing we had was to discuss, I know. Hold on, page down.
Oh, the leaves.
Okay. The next thing was to discuss some board and committee liaison appointments. So, just to kind of start talking about this, there's only 3 that are voting members. So we would be voting members of those 3 committees or commissions or whatnot. The other ones, you're not necessarily required to go to every meeting. Being the liaison, it would be important to just stay up on what's going on, so that you can come back and inform the board, because we all can't be everywhere at once.
So the voting ones, you would go to every meeting?
Yeah, you would go to
Yeah.
those, yes.
We'd make every attempt.
Every attempt, yeah. Of course, things happen.
Yes.
But, and some of these that are on our list do not meet. Have you ever been to a cable TV
Never.
advisory committee?
Never.
Oh, I
Okay.
want that one.
Actually, Madam Chair?
Yes.
So the Cable TV Advisory Committee, it's only when the cable licenses come up, so it's
Oh.
every couple of years.
Okay.
This is a
Once
key
one comes
question.
up, there's quite a few meetings.
Oh.
So it's a little bit of heavy lifting. Jim McCaffrey used to do it
Okay.
when the license agreements are up,
And that-
right? I
that
think it's
will-
every 3 years.
That will begin
Is it
within.
this year or not?
It will begin,
I think it's next year.
it will begin probably before the end of fiscal '23. The meetings will
Not sure I want
begin,
it.
probably next spring.
Just a head nod.
Okay.
Okay.
And also, I'm sorry, I just wanted to add to that, as typically, and I don't know if Ellen is aware of this, but typically there's an agenda item on here where we just put board and committee liaison updates, and that then if you've
Yeah.
attended any meetings, you have an
Oh.
open forum to kind of say, hey, this is what I went to
Okay.
and what happened, so FYI. That's all.
Okay.
Yeah, so obviously Craig and I were already assigned to some of these. I wanted, because I haven't had the opportunity yet, I wanted to switch over to the Permanent Building Committee, and I'd really love to keep the Cemetery Committee, but I'm kind of, I can kind of go any other way.
Yeah. I mean, the Norfolk County Advisory Board is difficult because it always falls during the workday for me.
Oh,
So
okay,
that's one
okay.
that is hard to attend.
Well,
I hear that's an
yeah.
interesting one.
It
is
sounds.
very
Yeah, it is, but I can't make the meeting.
No, I know,
Yeah.
I'm just saying for the other members
Okay.
that might be considering it, I do hear, and
I
that
don't
the
even know
meetings are
what it is.
lively. Basically, it's a committee that gives input from all the communities in the county, and it basically gives recommendations and feedback to the county commissioners.
Do you know how often they meet?
I believe it's monthly.
Yeah, it's a monthly, and it's the wrong time of day for me.
Yeah, it is during the
Yeah.
day. It's usually
Yeah.
like mid-afternoon, I think.
Yeah.
Ellen,
Yeah.
if you're interested and can do it, then it's all yours. Otherwise, I can take it because my schedule is a little more flexible than.
I don't
Is it-
mind.
It might be still via Zoom right now, too, I'm not quite sure.
All right,
Yeah.
I don't mind.
okay, all right.
But do we take more than one?
Yes.
Okay.
Do you want to vote them
I
all at
don't-
the end?
What?
Yeah,
Just
let's
write them
do
in, you
that.
can vote them all at the end?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I guess let's go from the top, I guess. Cable TV, do you want to keep that one or?
I thought that Ellen was taking that. No. I'll hold on to that one,
All
sure.
right. What about economic development?
I'll stick on that one, too, if you don't mind.
I don't mind.
Yeah.
Okay, how about energy? What's energy? Energy?
Bob
Oh,
Weiss works with the Energy Committee. They've been active for 7 or 8 years.
Okay.
And they do a lot of work about energy improvements in the community and looking at different ways to improve energy efficiency in the
Okay.
community.
I was going to say, and actually recently they have some very good ideas that they're trying to move forward as part of what's going on with economic development, so they kind of tie into it. So,
Okay,
Yeah, that one's nice because it's staffed, too, with Bob. so.
Yes.
okay,
Yeah, I'll take that one.
okay.
It's got a staff member on it, it's good.
This better be good.
I mean, it's as good as a town committee gets, all
And
right?
then- All right, then we have Ellen on the Norfolk County Advisory. And then I'm stealing PBC from Craig.
Okay.
And then I'm assuming
I would
that-
still, I'd like to attend some of the meetings still, because I've
Yeah.
worked on every project since the library, so I'm still very interested in that.
I would
But that-
prefer, if
yeah.
possible, just give a heads up, we'll just call a meeting and
Yeah.
everybody can do whatever they want.
Yes.
Yeah,
That
'cause-
way, everyone can talk.
Especially with the-
talk,
yeah.
And
Yeah.
we don't have
Cool.
to think about it.
Okay.
If you you'd let our office know, Maureen or I, a little more than, say, 50 hours in
50
advance.
hours.
Throw a posting up.
We will
and-
post it and you're
It's
good to go.
covered.
Yeah,
Yeah.
all right. And capital planning, Craig, I know you were interested in it this year.
I was interested in it.
No longer interested.
No, I think I am, and I'm just trying to see, I'm on nothing else, so I'll take that one. I mean, I'm on no others after this. I've got the first two. I'll take that one.
Okay.
So you're taking capital planning?
Yeah, if you don't mind, unless you
don't
want
mind.
that.
Unless somebody's dying for it,
Uh,
I'll keep
funny
the
group tonight.
cemetery committee. So Community Preservation Committee is a voting committee, and I would suggest, Ellen, if you're willing?
Well, I want to say something. Can I
Yes.
say something?
Yes.
I don't see school committee on here.
Oh, so that's on the bottom. It's kind of been non-official. What I've been doing, they put they broadcast live on YouTube, so you can watch it live on YouTube. But I do feel that it is nice to go in person. So that's also one up for grabs if that's something you're interested in.
I'm interested in that.
Okay.
And this one.
I will
yeah.
insinuate myself.
Yeah, and I used to attend those when I was on finance committee, where it's, since we don't appoint the committee, we attend as a guest in the audience, but we
Okay.
are often able to speak.
Since
Yeah.
they're an independent elected board, which is different than most of the other
Yeah.
committees here.
Okay.
Bring cookies.
And Ellen, are you okay with community preservation too?
Sure.
All right, and then, so local emergency planning committee, which
And
I'm
again, those
apparently already
meetings,
on.
those meetings are really as needed. I mean,
Okay.
it could be as few as, 3 or 4 a year, or if we have emergencies, it could be on a regular basis, but it's more random.
Okay.
If you want to, with being the chair, if you want me to attend that one, or if you want to keep attending that one, we've also got the Charles River Pollution Control District, which I think Ellen had
Oh, my
interest in.
God.
Yeah.
Well,
That's-
she's gonna be on a lot.
I know, that's
yeah.
too much.
Okay. That's a big one. I just knew that was an area you were interested in.
How often do they meet?
I think it's monthly, isn't
They
it?
meet monthly.
Yeah.
Okay.
I could.
But
I
it's
don't know
not,
if that-
it's
you
not,
don't
it's
have
not
to
a
vote.
voting member. It's not a voting member.
No.
That's
You
more
just-
to attend. and-
I will take that one, but we can call a meeting anytime you guys
Okay.
wanna go
Okay.
to it. How's that?
All right. That's
So
good.
you're
Erin,
taking
you're
Charles River?
CRPCD?
Yeah.
Sorry, CRPCD is Erin.
Yeah,
I was just gonna note on the,
I'll take the emergency planning just
Craig will
because I've
take
lived as a
emergency
fire chief.
planning, and Craig, I was just gonna say, hopefully he's gonna meet sometime soon. Rick is actually the chair, or the director of emergency
We
planning.
can
I
meet on
guess.
my back porch.
So I've got-
Yeah, and I think the problem has been that with COVID, we couldn't do
Yeah.
anything for so long, and they were so swamped, but we're due
Four.
to have a meeting soon.
Yeah.
Schultz, you got 4, okay.
It's, I was really excited about the cable because I thought another year of not meeting, but
I
I'm a little
know.
disappointed now.
Well,
I hear you.
probably not till the spring before
Yeah.
it starts to heat up.
Just the nice time of year. Good, okay.
so and correct me if I'm wrong, but this stuff isn't necessarily all set in stone, so if anybody if it becomes too much or anything like that, we can
Right.
all kind of work together and,
Right.
Yeah.
If anyone feels they need to give up a committee, you could always just put it on an agenda
Yeah,
and
yeah.
switch
And then,
appointments.
yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Any committee member can do that, really, but yeah.
all right, so we can vote on this now then? We
Sure.
should vote
Yeah.
on it?
Sure.
Okay, so how about
I have the list.
I'll make the motion and read, and you can make sure I'm right?
Okay,
How's that?
sure.
Okay, I move that we approve the following committee liaison appointments for this coming year. For the Cable TV Advisory Committee, Craig Schultz. Economic Development Committee, Craig Schultz. Energy Committee, Ellen Rosenfeld. Norfolk County Advisory Board Designee, Ellen Rosenfeld. Permanent Building Committee, Erin Underhill. Capital Planning Advisory Committee, Craig Schultz. Cemetery Committee, Erin  Community Preservation Committee, Ellen Rosenfeld. Local Emergency Planning Committee, Craig Schultz. School Committee, Ellen Rosenfeld. And Charles River Pollution Control District meetings, Aaron Underhill. That'll do
I
it.
second.
Okay. Is that right? That sounds right?
That was right.
Okay.
Sounded
That's
good.
right, yeah.
So it's been moved and seconded to assign as read, the committees. Senior Citizen
Oh.
Committee.
The Council on Aging, right?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, aye.
And if you can't attend any meetings, we can sometimes ask other people to attend.
That was
Okay.
approved
I'll go to an
unanimously.
occasional school.
Great.
Last item.
Oh, and the last thing on the agenda, believe it or not, it's 8:17.
Is that good?
That's
Yeah,
good.
that's
That's good.
exciting.
That's good.
Good.
So the
I have no
last-
idea.
The last
10
thing on the
o'clock.
agenda is Senior Center Programming Committee discussion. So that is you.
Yes.
Take
Well,
it away.
I, as part of this whole transparency and getting feedback, I know we have the focus groups, and as you mentioned, there's a focus group tomorrow at 2 o'clock at Kennedy. I just want to remind people, because I don't know if everybody knows, but anybody can come to these focus groups. It's not just senior citizens. I'm noticing that it is almost all senior citizens, but we want input from everybody, every demographic in this town, because everybody has an equal vote come November. So that's important. There's one tomorrow at 2 o'clock in Kennedy. There's another one on June 22nd at 7 at the Millis Library, the Roach Brothers Community Room. And really, we want everybody, all input, feedback, so we can, analyze it and then get back to you, et cetera. So pursuant to that, I would like to get a committee together. For the same reason, because these focus groups are going to be over, and this is going to carry through the summer, right up until I'm hopeful, up until town meeting in November. And there's a lot of information to disseminate, and there's a lot of information to accumulate. And there are so many venues to visit, including the senior center and the church, and seniors you got to find them where you can, and other groups. So I have people interested, but I want anybody to contact us and get on a committee so we can get everybody involved in this. So I feel like that's the thing we should do.
Can we talk a little bit more, like maybe with some examples, on what kind of programming discussions? you're
Well, I
looking
don't know
for?
how programming kind of got in here,
Oh, okay.
but that's a
That would be me, but.
But that's okay.
But yeah.
That's a piece of it.
Yeah.
It's mostly, so I personally have been meeting with directors of local senior centers. I want to continue that because they have such great information, what they've done correctly and what they have done incorrectly. And they've done a lot of things incorrectly. So, and there's programming also as far as the focus groups. They're not really talking so much about what's going in the building as much as what's the building, the size of the building and where the building will be. Because that's their job, the Permanent Building Committee, right? Well, we got to talk about programming, the needs of the community. What do they want to see in the senior center once it gets built, which it comes full circle, right? Why do we need it? Well, maybe this programming that I would attend. So where the Permanent Building Committee ends, I want to fill in with this committee to gather information on what do they see it fulfilling in their needs. And then there's a lot of talk about cost. I want an arm of this to start looking at ways to not control the cost, but I want to even talk about like a fundraising arm. I mean, there's so much I don't know that I don't even know what I don't know. And that's what the committee will bring,
Okay.
Okay.
everybody's voice,
And just a couple points, if you don't mind.
a lot of points.
Okay, just, I was on the permanent building committee when this started, and the way it all started, many, many years, pre-COVID actually, was with the library, with this Council on Aging and the rec department sitting in the room directly below this for hours talking about programming. I think there were 7 or 8 meetings to discuss the program. And then out of that program, we gave the list of everything they want to run, pickleball, tai chi, painting, everything, to the architect. Then he drew a building based on that programming. So there has been a lot of work that went into the program because the program dictated the design.
Yeah.
But would this be beyond the Council on Aging? Is that your idea?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And how long would you think this committee would be in place for? Like a
Right up-
perpetual committee or just something during this project?
Oh, just during this project.
Okay.
Just during, but I expect it to go through the summer into the fall, right up until town meeting. That's what I'm hopeful. I have 5 months.
Yeah.
Right?
If you'd like, you could put like a 1-year term on it and then consider whether you want to renew that at this time next year, based on if their goals have been met.
Yeah, that's-
Depending on where the project is,
Yeah.
because there's a lot of unknowns there.
That's the only thing I'd say is, I hope the only thing, I might call myself a liar, but the biggest thing I'd say is to consider how you would verbalize what kind of a charter this committee has. What is the charge of the committee? Because committees can kind of grow legs and go a little crazy if you don't say what the purpose of it is
Yeah.
and what it should accomplish.
Okay.
So I think that will be an important piece to make sure you have solidified.
Okay.
I'm certainly not against a committee for that.
Can we work on that?
Sure.
Yeah,
gonna say.
and I think the only other thing I'm thinking, I got a couple thoughts.
Yeah, go on.
You said you had one,
I
okay.
did, I only had one this
So if you had
time.
more, you could keep going.
No, I did,
Okay.
only one.
My only thought is I don't want to, I'd be careful stepping on the COA's toes. Yeah,
Yeah.
because they put a lot of thought into this.
I've spoken to them a
Perfect.
number of times.
And then the second thing is, I think that the school committee worked on lobbying for the new school, the library for the library. The permanent building committee doesn't lobby for
I
a
know
building.
that.
So if that's the goal, to have this be the advocacy arm for some programming, I think that is a good step. Because the COA could use the help in lobbying for it, I believe. So if that's what the goal is, and if that's what the stated
It's a
purpose
piece,
is.
I mean, it's
yeah.
a piece.
Yeah.
It's a piece, because I
Yeah.
understand that.
Yeah,
that
because
they don't advocate.
The PBC is going to say, this is how much it costs, this is what you
I
picked,
know.
this is what we're building.
Very
Yeah.
dry.
Yeah. I
So,
loved
Madam
it.
Chair, through the chair, Mr. Kaczynski, is this something that should be more of an ad hoc committee that you would just appoint, that you would have the appointment authority for? Or is this something that the select board, you would recommend doing the appointment for?
No, I mean, I think they could do the appointment for it. I think you need to, I think a charge, a specific charge is critical. I think if you encapsulate exactly what the goals and kind of, the full sphere of what this committee is going to be responsible for, and perhaps what it's not responsible for, and maybe helping communicate with the public the project, helping to further educate the policymakers on the programming, working with staff, working with other committees. You could certainly look at having representatives on a few key committees to sit on it, if they're willing to have a member sit on it. That would really be a central location where the thoughts and, because as Mr. Schultz said, the PBC is critical, but their role is, there's borders to it.
Yeah.
And there's a point at which they don't go beyond that because of the nature of what they do. This separate group could certainly assist in some of the areas beyond what the PBC's charter is.
And my only other thought was, does it need to be an official committee
That's what I
of
was
the
asking.
select board? Or can it be, like the school, the most effective group in the school is an ad hoc group of parents that were working on it, that were organized and liaisoned closely with, in that case, the school, in this case it would be the COA, but it was an ad hoc group. I don't know that it
That's why I
needs
was
to be an
asking.
official.
Yeah, and if
committee
that's
of
the,
the board.
and that's the
Whatever.
case,
Yeah.
and that's the case, I could assist putting
Yeah.
it together, but it wouldn't be a formally appointed group in that that respect. It would be,
Might
it
be
would be a
better.
group that comes together to work on it that doesn't necessarily is a formal governmental committee.
That's fine.
So
Yeah.
again, it kind of comes down to what your goals are. I happened to have been in that ad hoc committee for the school. So it was really just a small group of parents that organized between ourselves.
Yeah.
Got people to volunteer for signs, you know, things like that. We went out and put up signs. You know, we did that kind of stuff. But a school's a little bit different. We know what's gonna happen in there. You know what I mean?
Right.
So there's other pieces to this that you could work within a committee to address. So really, that's up, you know, this is a great idea. It's up to you on where you wanna take it, for how you want us to proceed.
Well, how did your ad hoc committee do?
Well, we got the schools.
I don't need any more proof than that.
Yeah, I think that there's benefits to both. And,
Yeah, I don't need, you know, ordained people with powers and rights. I need some people to do a little legwork,
I'm gonna,
right?
honestly,
more ad hoc.
And a few of them are gonna be from
That's
the,
more ad hoc.
Yeah.
from the
Yeah,
Council on Aging.
Sure.
But just not the whole, it's
Yeah.
just, it's,
yeah.
I just.
I think you
do know
have
what I
more
mean?
flexibility if it's not an official committee.
Yeah.
You have a
Yeah.
lot more flexibility.
Okay.
Yeah, certain things that appointed committees,
Yeah.
governmental committees cannot do,
Posted
and certain things
meetings.
they have to do,
Right.
which makes it a little harder to do some aspects, I think, of
Okay.
what you're looking to do
All
for the
right.
project.
Listen, anything less formal works for me.
But if you change your mind,
I
I mean,
won't.
let us know. I mean,
Okay.
it's fine.
All right,
We're not
so,
against it.
so we can
I can
figure.
certainly assist you on the basis of how to put it together.
Perfect.
And
Yeah.
give you contact information for people to
Okay.
contact and maybe put together a group.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay,
I think it's a
thank
good
you.
idea, and I think that's the right approach.
All right. So, before we go into executive session, anything else from you guys? No? Okay.
I have nothing else, Madam Chair.
All right, so at this point, we are going to adjourn to executive session to consider the purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real property, and if the chair declares that an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the negotiating position of the public body, as well as to conduct strategy sessions in preparation for negotiations with union personnel. After we come out of executive session, we will be coming out to open session for the purpose of adjournment. Can I have a motion to go into executive session?
Make a motion, we go to executive session.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded to go into executive session. I will poll the board. Ms. Rosenfeld? Aye. Mr. Schultz?
Aye.
And I am an aye. So we are now adjourned to executive session. Thank you very much, everybody.